Well, hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers here today. I'm Fiona Lang-Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, today we're talking about our Gold Obstetrics Conference, which is coming up very soon here at Gold. And I'm absolutely delighted to be sitting down with Dr. Kirsten Small today. Welcome, Kirsten. It's so good to have you back at Gold.
Thank you, Fiona. It's lovely to be back with you again. It's been quite some time.
It's been a little time, but we have missed you. But I know you've been very busy, which is great news for us because I know you've been taking a deep dive into some more education. So congratulations on that, and taking on a massive amount of research. And we'll talk about that in just a minute here. But for all of our audience listening in once again, perhaps you could just share where you are in the world and what are things like for you right now on your day to day.
I'm an Australian obstetrician gynecologist, and as well as working as a clinician, I work as an academic at Griffith University in the Transforming Maternity Care Collaborative team. I have recently completed my PhD, so I'm in the process of establishing myself now as an early career researcher and looking for further research opportunities moving forward. So life is busy and extremely varied between juggling teaching, research practice, clinical work, and blogging, which is one of my newfound passions.
Oh, that's fantastic. Perhaps you can share where can people find your blog right now, Kirsten?
Birthsmalltalk.com.
Oh, perfect. All right. So everyone can head over there and have a look and get on board with your passions as well. That's fantastic. All right, so let's talk about what's been happening because I know you have been busy. You've been doing your PhD. So first of all, why don't you tell folks what you did study for your main thesis for your PhD?
I have been interested in CTG monitoring for a very, very long time. To back the story up, when I was a medical student, I came into medicine in kind of the beginning of the evidence-based medicine era, and so I was taught that eventually we would have really good evidence to underpin all of our practice, and it would simply be a matter of time for us to do the evidence, to do the research, and get it translated through into practice. And so I was exposed to the idea that CTG monitoring didn't actually improve outcomes as a student, and remained hopeful that as I moved into training, we'd sort this out and, we'd be on the right path. And it didn't happen. And
Mm,
it didn't happen through my training, and it hasn't happened through all my years as a clinician. And all I saw was the expansion of use of CTG monitoring and increased regulation around it, so that clinicians have less and less choice to offer women, and therefore women have less and less choice about fetal monitoring method. And it was curious. Evidence-based medicine was meant to be this this wonderful utopian world where all that we did would be proven and for the best interests of the people that we were caring for. Why was CTG monitoring not fitting in with that? And so I wanted to explore some of the reasons that I thought were behind that. And so I became interested in how things happen in clinical practice around fetal monitoring, and I had the opportunity to do data collection at a place that had recently installed a central fetal monitoring system where all
mm,
the data is collected digitally and brought back to a room within the service where the CTGs of all the women in labour can be viewed at the one point.
wow.
And that struck me as being a really heightened level of surveillance,
Hmm.
not just of the fetus, but also of all of the people who are interacting with that woman during her labour. So the midwifery staff, the obstetric staff, and that that it had a tinge of power about it. So I was
Hmm.
interested in studying power structures within maternity care and how they are maintaining our use of CTG monitoring. And it was, as an obstetrician, obviously I work clinically. I've hung around fetal monitoring systems for a long time, and I was surprised by how much new learning there was from sitting and observing practice in a hospital system quietly and asking myself new sets of questions as I watched it. It was very interesting.
So interesting. And just hearing you and thinking too back to how long, I've been looking at the literature in this realm as well and how this caught your attention. Kirsten, this particular topic doesn't come without controversy, though. There seems to have been a lot of um, disagreement amongst professionals about this. And even as we sit here today, there's many folks who, many women, birthing parents, that there'll be an assistant, will be utilized at their births, and perhaps not for the right reasons. So, can you can you tell me, like, how has it been for you as you've sort of journeyed? Because I know you've had to talk with others, other professionals, other obstetricians, gynecologists. How has this been for you on this journey?
Look, I think that the metaphor of the emperor's new clothes is probably a fairly good one to use for this. I do feel a little bit like the kid in the crowd going, but he's got no pants on. And
Right.
everyone around me is going, oh, what magnificent outfit, isn't it wonderful? And I go, well, why am I the only person who can see that this isn't working? And, as I speak to obstetricians in clinical practice, the vast majority are very comfortable with the idea that if you are a woman who's got a low risk for poor perinatal outcome, CTG monitoring doesn't produce benefits for you. They're
Hmm.
comfortable with that idea. But most of them believe very, very strongly that if you have risk factors, then the evidence is clear that you will benefit from the use of CTG monitoring, when in fact that is not the case at all.
Mm.
And there is no benefit in terms of perinatal mortality for the baby. And the evidence that we have, which I accept is not great and it's dated, is that it increases the risk of cerebral palsy if you use CTG monitoring
Mm.
rather than protecting against it. And as is the case for low risk women, we increase the intervention rate for women and increase the chances of them having surgical birth. So that makes for interesting conversations where
Right.
I go, no, the evidence doesn't support it. Oh, yes, it does. No, it doesn't. And people are really strong about defending that position. And I find it really fascinating that it's
Hmm.
information that's hidden in plain sight.
Right.
It's in the same Cochrane review that people go to when they say the evidence doesn't support the use in low risk women, but it seems like people just haven't read that little bit further, which
Right.
is what prompted myself and my co-authors to write the paper that we had published earlier this year, which summarises all of the evidence about CTG monitoring in that high risk population in the one place. And not only have we looked at the randomised control trials, which obviously is in Cochrane, we've also gone and looked at all of the non-experimental research as well, because that's the
Mm.
other argument that I hear, is that the RCTs are underpowered, they're not done well, they're dated, but there's all this other evidence that shows that they work. So I was curious, so I went and found all the other evidence, and most of it is extremely poor quality and shouldn't be used to base practice on. And even for the really poor quality stuff, it's still not a compelling argument in favour of CTG use. And the better quality research that's been done again shows no improvement in perinatal outcomes. So
Mm.
the once you critically examine the arguments, we really can't strongly defend the practices that we're doing at the moment. And as I listen to women talk about their birth experiences, one of the common themes that comes up over and over is some form of, look, I'm actually going to use the word abuse because it becomes quite abusive at times, based around fetal monitoring experiences. And
Right.
so people are not respected as decision makers, not given a choice, coerced into the use of CTG monitoring in ways that are inappropriate given the evidence that we
Hmm.
have. People, you cannot defend an argument from a clinician who says you have to have this because your baby will die if you don't,
Right.
because there's absolutely no evidence to support that argument at
Hmm.
all. And yeah, I'd really like to see us move to a place where we're treating birthing women much more respectfully around fetal heart rate monitoring and giving them a choice, giving them information so that they can make good quality decisions. And that means clinicians need to have that information as well, and actually know what the evidence says.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's compelling, for a start off, and I think for the longest time, it is true of myself, as a birth advocate and a doula and a childbirth educator that we've been providing this information as well in order to, because we've been following the same path and rules that have been set out, amongst the birth field. But so this is a real game changer, I think, for many of us. And I was gonna say that this talk itself, I mean, this is our obstetrics conference, which is, open to anyone that works in the birth field, including obstetricians. But anyone can come to your session, which is going to be fantastic, Kirsten, because this is a free session and it's open access to anywhere in the world. So you can actually register at the website right now at goldobstetrics.com. And that will give you an opportunity to come and listen to all of Kirsten's research and what's happening in this area as well. Well, I'm truly excited. I'm just sort of a little bit nervous. It's that nervous excitement when you're starting to hear things changing. And you said earlier, there's some gratitude here because you do feel like things are potentially changing.
Yeah, I have a sense that I'm not the only kid in the crowd pointing out that the ember has got no pants on
Right.
anymore, and there seems to be more interest in obstetric circles to begin to make people aware of what the
Hmm.
evidence says and try and come up with slightly different approaches moving forwards.
Right.
And I think, it's as a clinician myself, I'm very sympathetic to the fact that I can't walk into a birth suite and go, right, let's just pop all the CTG machines in a cupboard today.
Hmm.
There are legal and regulatory reasons and employment
Yes.
contracts that mean that my options as a clinician. Now, people often think that as obstetricians that we hold all the power and we can
Hmm.
do whatever we want. It's actually not the case at all. So, I'm constrained as a clinician in my choices, and that's what I want to focus on in the talk, is helping
Mm.
people to understand what it is that's shaping them to practice in the way that they do. Because
Right.
when we understand that, it opens up avenues for us then to take action and change the system in which we work so that our practices can change. So that I'm not advocating that people start pouring cups of tea into the tops of CTG machines, in order to destroy them. We need systems level change on this to be able to make a difference for the experiences that women have when they're entrusting us with their care.
Absolutely. No, that sounds fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Kirsten Small. It's been just fabulous sitting down with you once again. And of course, coming up at our Gold Obstetrics Conference. And in fact, as I mentioned before, this is a free and open access. Kirsten is going to be our closing keynote as part of that conference. For most of you, it will be on November 23rd. So that's the live event where Kirsten will be here taking questions as well during that live presentation. But you'll also be able to listen to the recording, and you'll need to go to the website to check out the actual time for wherever you are in the world. And again, thank you so much, Kirsten, for being with us here today. It's been fabulous sitting down with you.
Thank you very much, Fiona.
And thank you once again to all of our lovely gold viewers who are here with us today. If you have any questions or comments, you can pop them in below, and we'll look forward to connecting with you very soon. Bye bye for now, everyone.